Do you find yourself struggling to get on the top 100 leaderboard times in Gran Turismo 7? Do you feel like you're hitting the same racing lines, braking markers, acceleration markers, but just can't seem to set the same times as them? Well, if that's the case, this video is just for you. Hello and welcome back to the Sammy Snake Racing YouTube channel. My name's Sam, aka Sammy Snake, aka the fastest snake in the world. And today's video is going to give you 5 advanced tips on how to get faster at Gran Turismo 7. Now, we've already covered a video giving 5 basic tips on how to improve your lap times and find pace around the track. So be sure to check out that video if you haven't seen it. But for those of you who really want to eke out those final tenths, those final little bits of extra time and want to implement some advanced driving techniques, then make sure to tune into this video for the full duration. We're going to give you 5 tips and show you how it works and how you can implement that when playing Gran Turismo 7. So without further ado, let's hop into the first tip. Okay, let's talk about how using higher gears out of corners can help to find you time, and not only help to find time, it can make the car more predictable and less likely to spin the back tyres, so more consistent. So in this first example of a run through of the first sector, we're going to use what gears feel appropriate according to the speed we are travelling. So we're going to change down to 4th, accelerate out of that corner. Nothing seems to be out of whack there. We've hit our braking marker, we've hit the apex, we've accelerated out pretty well. It doesn't feel like it's slow, but we use 4th gear and we had to feed the throttle in gently coming out of that corner. And again, as we're coming into these series of complex corners, we're going to change down into 2nd gear, which feels like the appropriate speed. It's nowhere near the rev limiter, but again, we need to feather the throttle. We need to be careful not to go full throttle and make sure the car doesn't understeer or spin the back tyres. We're hitting the apexes, we're carrying some decent speed, but what I'm going to do now is fast forward to later on in this example, where you can see how using a higher gear transfers into time gained. We're going to get a delta as we're running over the start finish line. The delta will start. We are a little bit quicker over the line, but what we're going to do here is hit the same braking marker, change to 5th and be more aggressive on the throttle. We went 100% throttle straight away, so coming out of that corner we've carried more speed and we're gaining time by not having to change gear. Every time you change gear in Gran Turismo, the momentum of the car is stopped momentarily, so that can also help to find time. So through this section, again, change down into 2nd, and then when we needed to feather the throttle, what we're going to do instead is be more aggressive with the throttle and use 3rd gear. And you can see that's another 10th gained, and when the car started to understeer to the right there, we just up changed into 4th. You can see how using that higher gear allows you to be faster, more consistent, and you can use that to actually limit the understeer when you feel that the car is coming out of sync or coming off the racing line. Yes, that's right, optimizing your gear changes. So what we're going to do here is use this marker, this marshal on the right hand side as a marker to just accelerate down this straight in the Toyota Supra again. And I'm going to highlight to you how making sure that you change gear at the appropriate time will help to gain speed. Each car has an optimal gear change. Some are very similar and it doesn't make that much of a difference, but in this Toyota Supra, actually short shifting slightly, progressively as the gears go on, short shifting even more. So in 1st gear you rev it out, 2nd gear slight short shift, 3rd gear a little bit more, and so on. And what I'm going to do is go down this straight, set a delta, complete a full lap, stop at the same point, and then as I cross the start finish line, you're going to see the time difference of what happens when we change gear more optimally. So what we're going to do, exactly the same point, brake, get behind that marshal, don't cheat Sam, and we're going to accelerate in the same way, but this time we're going to change gear at a more optimal point, slightly short shifting like we talked about. But what I would say, if you're unsure on when to change gear in each car, because we're in the Toyota Supra, it's fairly common knowledge that it is better to change gear earlier. If you're unsure, either check the leaderboards and the replays, and the top times in the world will always be shifting gear optimally, or you can go on the settings page of the car, go to your ECU, check out the power band, and sometimes it will be obvious that if the power drops off at the higher revs or the torque is really high in the low revs, it's going to be better to change gear earlier. And as you can see, there's nearly a tenth that we've gained here already, and that's not including the first half of the straight. So I'd say you're gaining at least a tenth down that straight just by making sure that you're changing the gears in the right way. Yes, that's right, brake balance. So brake balance is really good if you utilize it properly. We're going to use Atlanta this time as an example. We're going to keep the brake balance neutral in this Volkswagen Beetle. And as you can see, when we're coming into these corners, the car is tending to understeer. It's hard to get it to rotate into these corners. Therefore, changing your brake balance can help with the braking into the corners to get it to rotate more easily. I have done a full video covering everything about brake balance. I will put that in the link to the description of this video. But what we've done here, we've changed it to +5 now. So coming into this right-hander, it rotates much easily. So we can get the nose turned in, get on the power earlier. And then again, for this tricky chicane, when braking, the car is much more controlled, it rotates nicely, and you can see we're much closer to that ghost. So just from changing the brake balance from neutral to +5, it's made a massive difference to the time that we're setting here. Now I do have to mention, it is not a one-size-fits-all formula with brake balance, and I'll show you that by putting +5 brake balance to this Porsche 911 at Le Mans. And what we'll notice, as soon as we come into that braking zone with +5, the back end starts to step out on us, we lose stability, it's very hard to control this car. Even though we've gone +5 on the Beetle, when we do it in the Porsche, it's actually too unstable, and I can't get the car to turn in because it's sliding around too much. So how about -5? Let's try -5. We've gone one way, it didn't work that way, let's go the other. So we go -5. This time we're suffering with understeer coming into these corners. And what I'm doing by showing you these examples is just indicating that you have to play around sometimes. And it's not just a matter of using the same +5 or -5 for every single car. It needs to be independent to each and every vehicle that you use. So we've gone +5, we've gone -5. Let's try it somewhere in the middle, in this 911 at Spa. And straight away, coming into this braking zone, the car straight away is just much more balanced. It's easier to control into that braking zone, so we can get it to rotate nicely, it's stable, and we can control the vehicle. So therefore, we can be a lot quicker. So remember, when using brake balance, adjust it, but make sure you adjust it according to the vehicle that you're using. Yes, that's right. Using lower gears in Gran Turismo 7, and to be fair, in real life, helps to slow the car, and it actually helps to get the car to rotate. So in this first example, we're going to brake normally into turn 1. We're going to keep it in second gear as we turn into there, and then exit in third. And as you can see, there's no real mistakes being made. We've got it on +5 brake balance, so the car is rotating nicely. But we can do something more to help get the car to rotate. This vehicle and this section of the track is all about getting the car to rotate. We've just set a time of a 32.3 there, which is 7/10 within gold. Let's see what happens when we really start to optimize everything. We've got +5 brake balance, we've got a trail brake in, and this time we're going to use first gear to help rotate that front end. We get the front end to turn in much more easily. We manage to get on the throttle a lot more aggressively, and we're much closer to the ghost. And again, coming into this right-hander, we've got to make sure we get into first gear nice and early, get the car to turn, rotate it in, and we can get on the throttle much easier. And what actually happens, just from doing that, we managed to knock almost 3/10 off that time. And actually, when I checked the leaderboards, from doing that, we managed to get P3 in the world and top 10 All-Stars. So that just shows how using lower gears can really help. Right, okay, trail throttling. Let me talk to you about trail throttling. So for this example, I'm going to show you the circuit experience test and sector 3, I believe it is, for spoon corner. So usually, you know, we'd either use a higher gear coming out of a corner and be more aggressive on the throttle, which we do here, but for that particular corner, the spoon curve, the corner, the angle, the camber of that corner is quite severe. So it promotes understeers. You know, you can't actually be that aggressive on the throttle. So let's try using a lower gear this time. Perhaps we can get it to rotate and not have that understeer issue. But this time, because we're super aggressive on the throttle in third gear, it actually just spins the back tyre. So what can we do in this circumstance, in a really testing technical corner? We need to implement trail throttling. Trail throttling is basically like trail braking but in reverse. So we need to be delicate with the throttle inputs. We're going to use fourth gear on the way out, but this time we're going to feed the throttle in and then hold it at 90% for a period of time before accelerating fully out of that corner. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to show a replay of this and slow it down so you can see this in action. We're in a GR2 car and it is quite hard to see exactly what we're doing when everything's happening that quickly. So we'll flick to the chase camera perspective and we're going to show you this in super slow motion and see exactly what's happening. So as we approach this first left-hander, normal speed, but then as we approach spoon curve, you'll see what I'm doing is as soon as I can get the front end turned in and pointing in the right direction, I've got it down to its apex speed, I change it into fourth gear and I start gently applying throttle. You'll see first initially it's at about 50%, then it goes up to 75, and then progressively it's held at around 75 to 80% for a period of time. And then as we know it's going to grip into the corner, we fully apply the throttle. This is a very tricky method to implement, but if you can nail it, it really helps to find those extra tenths around the circuit. And just in case you needed proof that these techniques do work, if we jump over to the leaderboards, again, on this example, we managed to get P3 in the world, only 9 thousandths off first place. And there you have it, 5 advanced tips on how to be faster at Gran Turismo 7. If you are here till the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you could do me a quick favor before you go, leave a like on the video and make sure you subscribed. We're very close to 5,000 subscribers, so any help will be massively appreciated. We do live streams every Monday night, competing in the top split lobbies, as well as live streams on Sundays doing community races with all the SnakePit when we all come together and have a laugh and do some fun races. But for today's video, it's over and out from the Racing Snake, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.